Screaming mummies. Deep within the tombs of ancient Egypt, archaeologists uncovered something that defies explanation. Mummies frozen in expressions of pure terror and anguish. Some display twisted facial features, clenched jaws, and contorted bodies, as if they died in unimaginable pain. Their mouths remain wide open, their muscles tightened, creating the haunting appearance of a final scream preserved for thousands of years. Unlike most carefully prepared mummies, these bodies appear rushed or imperfectly embalmed, adding to the mystery of their final moments. What makes these discoveries even more chilling is that many were found in undisturbed tombs, sealing their expressions for over 3,000 years. Some researchers suggest toxic gases trapped in burial chambers may have caused fatal convulsions, while others believe extreme stress or improper mummification led to the distorted features. Darker theories even whisper about curses and supernatural forces. Whatever the truth, these preserved faces remain one of Egyptology's most unsettling mysteries, silent figures that appear to be screaming across time. The Vampire of Venice. During excavations on the Venetian island of Lazaretto Nuovo, archaeologists uncovered a disturbing burial inside a 16th century plague pit. Among the remains was a skull with a brick forced into its mouth. This unusual practice reflected a chilling belief that the dead could return as vampires and spread disease among the living. At the time, bodies buried during plague sometimes appeared to move or bleed as they decomposed, convincing gravediggers that the corpse was feeding on others in the mass grave. To stop this, they forced bricks, stones, or other objects into the mouth, symbolically preventing the dead from biting or rising again. The Venetian skeleton became one of the most famous examples of this ritual. It reveals a terrifying period when fear of disease and superstition blurred together, leading people to treat the dead as threats that had to be restrained even after burial. Hitobashira. In ancient Japan, legends and historical records describe a disturbing practice known as Hitobashira human pillars. According to these accounts, people were buried alive beneath castles, bridges, and dams, as sacrifices meant to appease spirits and protect structures from collapse. Victims were often chosen from common villagers and sealed within the foundations, where they slowly died in darkness. The belief was that their spirits would guard the structure and prevent disasters such as floods, earthquakes, or structural failure. Some stories claim strange sounds were heard from the walls long after construction ended, as if the trapped souls were still present beneath the stone. In certain cases, sudden deaths or misfortunes near these structures were blamed on restless spirits that had not been properly appeased. While historians debate how often this practice truly occurred, unusual burials discovered beneath old buildings have fueled speculation. The idea that massive structures may have been stabilized with human lives remains one of Japan's most haunting and unsettling historical mysteries. The Oracle of Delphi Trance. In ancient Greece, people traveled from across the known world to seek answers from the Oracle of Delphi, believed to be the direct voice of the god Apollo. Inside the Temple of Apollo, a priestess known as the Pythia would sit above a hidden underground chamber where strange vapors were said to rise from cracks in the earth. As the fumes filled the space, she began to enter a trance-like state. Her breathing grew uneven, her body trembled, and her voice shifted into fragmented, often incomprehensible speech. Ancient witnesses describe moments where she appeared to lose control completely, speaking in a tone that did not sound entirely human. Priests stood nearby, carefully interpreting her words and turning them into prophecies that could influence wars, political decisions, and the fate of entire kingdoms. Some modern researchers believe natural gases may have caused hallucinations and altered consciousness, while others argue the ritual itself created a powerful psychological effect. The image of a figure alone in a dark chamber, inhaling unknown vapors and speaking in a possessed-like state, makes the Oracle of Delphi one of the most eerie and unsettling practices of the ancient world. The Yongtai Princess Tomb Murals. Hidden beneath the earth in China lies the tomb of Princess Yongtai, sealed for more than 1,000 years. When the tomb was finally opened, the walls were covered in detailed murals, not abstract designs, but lifelike scenes frozen in time. The paintings depicted court attendants, guards, and noble figures arranged as if they were still serving the princess in death, each captured in precise detail. Their expressions appeared calm yet unsettling, with eyes that seemed to follow anyone walking through the narrow corridors. The figures stood in long processions, creating the eerie illusion of a silent audience watching from the walls. The tomb's passageways were enclosed and dim, amplifying the feeling of being surrounded by these painted figures. Some murals showed daily court life, while others reflected ritual and ceremonial scenes, suggesting that this underground space was meant to recreate an entire world for the afterlife. Unlike ordinary decorations, these images carried a purpose, to ensure the princess would never be alone, even in death. The idea that an entire royal court was painted to exist forever in darkness, silently observing anyone who enters, makes this discovery both haunting and deeply mysterious. Ancient curse tablets. Scattered throughout archaeological sites in Greece and Rome are thousands of lead tablets, their surfaces scratched with desperate prayers and vengeful curses. These curse tablets were created by ordinary people, merchants, rivals, lovers, enemies, who paid scribes to inscribe their wishes of harm, death, and suffering onto metal, then buried them in temples, cemeteries, or sacred waters. The curses are horrifyingly specific. May their victim lose the ability to eat. May she miscarry. May his limbs rot. May he be consumed by plague. Some tablets list multiple victims, revealing intense personal vendettas carried out through the supernatural means. What makes these artifacts deeply unsettling is not just the content, but the belief they reveal. Many people genuinely believe that written curses, properly performed in sacred locations, could cause real physical suffering and death. These tablets represent an ancient mental landscape where malice was formalized, where harm could be ordered like a transaction, and where faith and supernatural punishment ran deep. They are testimony to humanity's enduring capacity for darkness and our deep-seated need to hurt those we despise. Aztec Skull Tower. In the heart of Mexico City, evidence reveals Huitzilopochtli, the Great Skull Tower, a monumental structure that once displayed thousands of human skulls arranged in ritualistic patterns. This wasn't merely a memorial, it was a nightmarish architecture of death. The skulls belonged to sacrificial victims. Many of them were prisoners of war, whose heads were severed as part of religious ceremonies meant to appease bloodthirsty gods. Spanish conquistadors described witnessing the tower in all its horrifying glory, and recent excavations have confirmed that the Aztecs built this grotesque monument with calculated precision. The sheer scale of death represented by this structure, with estimates suggesting anywhere from 3,600 to 140,000 skulls, reveals a civilization so obsessed with sacrifice that they built monuments to commemorate it. Today, these remnants of religious extremism challenge our understanding of ancient spiritual practices. Roopkund Skeleton Lake, high in the Indian Himalayas, at an elevation of 16,000 feet, lies a glacial lake that has yielded one of the most haunting mass graves ever discovered. Roopkund Lake is littered with the skeletal remains of over 600 people, their bones bleached white against the blue water. What makes this discovery terrifying is the complete mystery surrounding it. Dating suggests the bodies span multiple centuries, yet they all seem to have arrived at this desolate location during winter months. The most haunting theory involves an ancient military expedition, possibly from the 9th century, ambushed by a catastrophic hailstorm that killed soldiers, pilgrims, and traders in a single horrifying night. The skeletons, some still clothed in ancient armor, tell stories of a forgotten tragedy that claimed lives in one of Earth's most hostile environments, a frozen tomb where the dead still watch the mountain peaks. Sokushinbutsu. In the mountains of ancient Japan, a very small number of Buddhist monks undertook a ritual so extreme it blurred the line between devotion and death. Known as Sokushinbutsu, the practice involves slowly mummifying themselves while still alive. For years, the monks followed a strict diet of nuts, roots, and bark, deliberately starving their bodies of fat. In the final stage, they drank a toxic tea made from tree sap to poison their own flesh and prevent decay. Then they were sealed inside small stone chambers, sitting in meditation as they waited to die. Bells were placed in their hands, and each day they rang them to signal they were still alive. When the sound stopped, the chamber was sealed permanently. Years later, the tomb was reopened, and sometimes the monk had transformed into a perfectly preserved mummy. If the body remained intact, it was believed the monk had achieved enlightenment and become a living Buddha in death. The practice was eventually banned in the 19th century, making these self-mummified monks the last of an extreme ritual that pushed faith to its absolute limit. The Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni. Hidden beneath the ground in Malta lies an underground structure carved entirely from rock more than 5,000 years ago. Known as the Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni, this ancient complex consists of narrow corridors, chambers, and ritual rooms descending deep below the surface. One of its most mysterious features is a chamber where even the quietest whisper echoes throughout the entire structure, creating an eerie, almost unnatural sound. Archaeologists believe the site was used for ceremonies, possibly involving chants or rituals performed in darkness. The walls are smooth, curved, and intentionally shaped to amplify voices, making the space feel alive with sound. With no natural light and winding passages, the underground temple creates a claustrophobic atmosphere that still unsettles visitors today. The purpose of this silent echoing labyrinth remains uncertain, adding to the chilling mystery of why ancient people built such a place beneath the earth. The Ubaid lizard figurines. In ancient Mesopotamia, a series of strange clay figurines emerged from the ruins of early settlements. Unlike anything else from the ancient world, these figures, dating back over 7,000 years, depict humanoid bodies with long, narrow heads, almond-shaped eyes, and reptile-like features. Some appear to be standing, while others sit calmly holding what look like infants, as if engaged in quiet, everyday life. Their expressions are blank and emotionless, giving them an unsettling, almost non-human presence. The figurines were found in what appeared to be ordinary settlements of the Ubaid culture, suggesting they may have held religious or symbolic meaning. Yet no written records explain who or what these beings were meant to represent. Some researchers believe they could depict deities, mythological creatures, or ritual masks worn by humans. Others argue they may simply be stylized artistic interpretations. What makes them especially eerie is their consistency. Elongated skulls, reptilian faces, and strange proportions repeated across multiple figures. They do not resemble animals, nor do they clearly resemble humans. These silent clay figures, created thousands of years before recorded mythology, remain one of the most mysterious and unsettling artifacts from the ancient world. Inca child sacrifice mummies. On the frozen peaks of the Andes Mountains, the mummified remains of children were found perfectly preserved by the ice for centuries. Some as young as 6 years old who were ritually sacrificed over 500 years ago. The children, both boys and girls, were selected for their perfection and led up mountains as part of the Capacocha ritual. There, at altitudes where breathing becomes impossible, they were left to freeze in elaborate tombs with offerings of precious metals, textiles, and food. The most chilling discovery involves a young girl known as La Doncella, the Maiden, whose mummified body was found so perfectly preserved that her internal organs remained intact, allowing scientists to perform an autopsy on her 500-year-old remains. Her final moments were documented in her lungs. The presence of certain compounds indicated she was fed hallucinogenic drugs before being left in the cold to die slowly. These child sacrifices represent a civilization so determined to appease their gods that they sent innocent children to their deaths on top of the world. Tollund Man. Found preserved in a Danish peat bog in 1950, Tollund Man is one of the most perfectly preserved ancient human remains ever discovered, but his story is deeply unsettling. The body of this 2,400-year-old man retains such extraordinary detail that his face appears almost as if he merely fell asleep, closed eyelids, peaceful expression, even faint stubble still visible on his chin. His skin was darkened by the bog, yet remarkably intact, and his final meal remained preserved in his stomach, allowing scientists to reconstruct the last hours of his life. Yet this man was executed. A leather rope remains looped tightly around his neck, evidence of ritual strangulation or hanging. There were no signs of struggle, suggesting he may have accepted his fate. His final meal of barley, flax, and wild seeds appears carefully prepared, possibly a ritualistic Last Supper before death. Researchers believe he may have been sacrificed to appease gods, ensure fertile harvests, or restore balance during times of crisis. The most haunting aspect is his expression. Unlike victims of violence, Tollund Man face appears calm and almost peaceful, as if he closed his eyes at moments before death. Scientists have pieced together his final moments with chilling clarity. A young man, probably in his 20s, ritually prepared, fed one last meal, and executed as an offering to unseen forces. Preserved for over 2 millennia, his face continues to haunt all who gaze upon it, a silent witness to an ancient ritual lost to time. Ushi-no-Toki-Mairi. In medieval Japan, a chilling ritual known as Ushi-no-Toki-Mairi was believed to allow a person to curse their enemy through supernatural forces. Performed during the hour of the ox, between 2 and 3 in the morning, the practitioner dressed in white burial robes and wore an iron crown holding lit candles. The flames flickered in the darkness, illuminating a figure moving silently through empty streets or forest paths. They traveled to a sacred shrine and approached a tree believed to house spiritual energy. Using a hammer and long iron nails, they drove the metal into the sacred tree, symbolically binding their victim to suffering, or death. Each strike echoed through the night, the only sound in the stillness. The ritual had to be repeated for several nights, and the practitioner could not be seen. If discovered, it was believed the curse would reverse onto the one performing it. Old accounts describe witnesses seeing distant candlelight deep in the woods, hearing rhythmic hammering, and glimpsing a motionless figure in white standing before a shrine. The combination of secrecy, revenge, and supernatural belief made the ritual deeply feared. The idea that someone could secretly perform this ceremony night after night, driven by hatred and desperation, makes Ushi-no-Toki-Mairi one of the most eerie and unsettling practices in Japanese folklore. Norse Seiðr ritual. In Viking Age Scandinavia, a mysterious form of sorcery known as Seiðr was believed to allow practitioners to influence fate, curse enemies, and glimpse events beyond the present. The ritual often took place at night, where a practitioner sat on a raised platform or special seat while others gathered around in a circle. Torches flickered and chanting began slowly, building rhythm as the ceremony unfolded. As the voices grew louder, the practitioner entered a trance-like state. Witnesses described heavy breathing, swaying movements, and sudden stillness before the sorcerer began to speak. Their voice sometimes sounded different, as if the words came from somewhere beyond them. Through this trance they delivered visions, prophecies, or warnings. Some believed they were communicating with spirits, while others feared they were manipulating fate itself. Seiðr was considered powerful but deeply feared. It was associated with magic, destiny, and unseen forces capable of altering outcomes. Even within Norse society, the practice carried a strong taboo, and those who performed it were viewed with suspicion. When Christianity spread across Scandinavia, Seiðr was increasingly condemned as dangerous witchcraft and gradually suppressed. The image of a lone figure seated in darkness, surrounded by chanting voices, entering a trance believed to shape destiny itself, makes the Norse Seiðr ritual one of the most eerie and unsettling practices of the Viking world. Some sagas even suggest that those who witnessed the ritual felt an unnatural silence afterward, as if something unseen had passed through the gathering. Whether feared as dark sorcery or revered as sacred prophecy, Seiðr remained a shadowy practice lingering at the edge of belief and dread. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.